Airliners with fuel emergencies after Starship explodes. So there were some audio of the Starship exploding, but then they later declared emergency fuel. Can you make it large, Doug?
Enhance.
Play the tapes. Thanks to Vass Aviation, by the way. They're great. So all these airliners going into Puerto Rico had to hold because the Starship was exploding. That looks amazing.
That is incredible.
It's fascinating.
Okay, yeah, for JetBlue 561, we'd like to request direct St. Martin, please.
JetBlue 561 is the same. JetBlue 561, I mean, St. Martin, that or portion is right now. You guys basically are either you want to go to San Juan, and it's going to be at your own risk. Same for St. Thomas, same for St. Martin, same for Beef Island. It's going to be the same because there's a corridor between that.
So all their diverts are in the corridor of this
debris. Response area has been activated. Beginning south of Georgetown, Great, Exuma, extending to the southeast, impacting Providenciales, Drenthurst areas, extending further beyond and ending at the San Juan and Piarco FIA boundary, just north of St. Martin. Stand by for individual instructions.
Yeah, for the 561, you said San Juan and St. Martin were the same, right?
San Juan, St. Martin, and even going to Santo Domingo Airport is going to be...
There's always a controller in the background laughing.
Yeah, we run out of time, so...
Always.
561, direct San Juan at this time, down to 11, JetBlue 561, thank you.
Able to accept it, did you want to divert there?
Affirmative, Jetshare 943, we would like to divert there.
Jetshare 943, Roger, clear to the San Juan Airport via present position direct. Josh, Juliet, Oscar, Sierra, Hotel, Echo.
Okay.
Josh, even direct San Juan.
I think we get it. So
there was stuff.
A Starship explodes. Everybody has to hold because they can't be in the debris field and can't land there. And then I wonder, so, I mean, to explain the situation, they're like, hey, we're low on fuel. All our diverts are within this pattern. We've got to go somewhere or it's at our own risk. My question is, how much of this was known? Was it just like, did the Starship explode and nobody knew that was a chance of that happening? Is that what kind of went on? You guys know?
Well, I don't think they plan on it exploding. So no, I don't think.
Well, I mean, as far as the contingencies of, where it might end up.
Yeah, they have the corridor is defined in advance.
I think the thing that surprises me is their alternates were in the corridor. We run into this like with North Korea when they're shooting rockets. And,
okay.
So out in the North Pac, there'll be all of a sudden you'll find out one's going off, and they'll shut those lanes down. And sometimes they'll just divert people out of the lane if it's in that corridor where this thing might come down. So the only thing that kind of surprises me is on a launch that if you've got this corridor where something could happen, 99% of the time it won't, but it could. I'm surprised because it sounds like the alternates are all in that corridor, which would be maybe some bad planning. I would be surprised you could even file an alternate in that corridor in the vulnerability period. Like that would surprise me a lot.
Yeah, you'd think that it would be some sort of alarm that would go off when they were in there doing their plans for that.
Correct.
But my last company, I would fly into Miami and I'd have an alternate, and what is that, Fort Lauderdale? It's right next to it. It's like you can literally see it. Like that's my alternate. If there's weather, like the same cloud is going to be over him, so it doesn't surprise me. Right? Yeah, that's right.
What's interesting in that video, I saw something later in that video where one of the guys is now talking to ATC, one of the captains, and all of a sudden he's just like, "Well, we don't know what to do. What should we do?" He said it to ATC, and I was like, you got to have a plan.
Never say that on the radio.
No, and like first off, everybody wants to be the captain until there's captaining to do. Like that's
you get paid the big bucks.
And now you got to decide, where do I want to go? And I may get hit by a rocket, which was not on my bingo card for that night. Certainly down in the Bahamas or St. Martin, but I think declaring it and going. I think it's something we're weak at. If you look at safety-wise, airlines as a whole, we don't declare maydays or emergencies nearly enough, and there's a hesitancy to do that, and then just take charge and go, and then they're there to help you and give you advice.
Don't second guess when you've made that decision. I'm glad that we're talking about this. I just had this happen last week. We took off out of I think Dallas, and we were heading empty up to Aspen to pick up some passengers. And weather was good. Like we checked it multiple times because Aspen's always kind of a pain in the butt. It's difficult to get in there. And as we're coming in, we're even checking, we've got ATIS, everything's clear. And as we're coming in, we get told stand by for holding instructions. And they put us in a hold, and they gave us expect further clearance in an hour. And we're like, we don't have gas for this. And so we just immediately started looking at, okay, rifle is the closest. That's where we're going to go. It's always in the back of our head. But we committed to it. And then the weather started to kind of clear up. We're like, nope, we're going to rifle. Like, that's what we're doing. And that's what you gotta do. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. We gotta just have the plan and make it, because that's a horrible feeling too. When you start putting in the hold or something, something like this going on, and man, that gas, it just keeps getting lower and lower, and it's not a good feeling.
Yeah. I mean, you would think the dispatchers would be talking to them too.
Yeah.
You got the company.
Somebody just put in the comments that a lot of they'd seen or read that a lot of the dispatchers weren't actually read in on that information. So
really?
From what I understand, yeah, there it is. From what I understand, a lot of dispatchers didn't have the DR information at the time.
I think that's the part that's going to be super interesting.
So you're carrying no alternate at all.
Well, they're putting alternates in, but they're based off of bad information.
Right. I mean, no alternate outside of, it was clear night. So, wow.
I would assume in that situation, if you're in that vulnerability period, what typically would happen is you would have extra fuel on board for an alternate that's outside that corridor.
Right.
And it sounds like that didn't happen for some reason. And that breakdown is probably what's going to come out of this, is how did these guys end up in a situation where, because later on in that video, the ATC guy says, you assume all risk by flying to San Juan as your alternate. And that's never what you want to hear, right? It's like,
no.
You assume the risk of getting hit by spaceship
debris.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
No simulator sessions on that.
I mean, it's a little. So what happened with the shuttle, right? I mean, this had to be a factor when the Columbia mishap happened, right? Because that's a major corridor, DFW to New Orleans. I mean, AEX, that's all over there. I wonder, if when the shuttle was flying, if they had like a contingency plan or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Route Airliners around.
I never thought about it before.
Yeah, I haven't either. It's not something that's in my wheelhouse.
Which is probably why. Like, it's probably still such a, I don't know, just not built in. Plus, that's sort of a chaotic area as far as ATC is concerned.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess.
San Juan. Have you been to San Juan?
Oh, yeah.
It's
that can get interesting real quick.
I broke there. It was awesome. It's a great trip.
Oh, yeah, it's a good place to go. But that
it's a great place to be stuck for 3 days. Yeah, it's a little chaotic. Yeah.
Yeah, Zipper Trevor said there used to be a NOTAM.
It's weird that this happened. You remember it was in December, like third week of December, I think. It went right by U-Mover. There was that debris field from one of the satellites that basically went from New Orleans all the way up to like Detroit or something like that. And it went right over Memphis, and I was going by Memphis when it happened, and everybody lit up on guard. Finally, someone wasn't meowing for 2 minutes.
You're on guard.
And,
guard.
And
guard.
Yeah. And it was like hundreds and hundreds of pieces of this thing coming down. And it actually went through my mind. I was like, well, that stuff's going somewhere. Like, not all of it's burning up. This would really suck.
Right.
If one of those came right through. I'm like, yeah.
Delta 6-9 is defending east.
Defending from what? I mean, what do you say?
Yeah. You're over there in your 7-3 just doing the
wop 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 wop
bank angle.
Awesome. Yeah, things I never thought I'd have to do.
Well, that's probably the MCAS. It automatically starts doing its jink,
detects debris.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's probably too soon. Okay, well, so what have we learned? Be the captain, and it was probably buried in those NOTAMs, like unlit tower, 25 feet.
Right, 25. What? Bird activity.
Flaming space debris, all quadrants.
Yeah.
Space debris. What's space debris?
Between Bravo and
Alpha. This information.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's
way too busy.
But there's no snow on the ramp in Puerto Rico. There'll be like 9 of those as well.
Yeah. The runway is dry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Five.
Right.
All right.